Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. What's going on today? Olympics are in full swing. We're having a great time watching the games, and obviously we'll continue to do so throughout the course of everything in Milan. We got other business to take care of here. We're going to talk some Olympics. Jamal Mayers will be here. Sam Cosentino is also going to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation with him. I mean, just based on the way the season has gone for the St. Louis Blues this season, I do want to make Hockey Sense a destination for people to really have a full, firm handle on the upcoming NHL Draft. Prospects. We need to know who the prospects are, who the top players are, and know them inside and out. And this is going to be a great platform for you to learn everything you need to know about the top prospects. Assuming everything continues the way that it's gone so far, the Blues are expected to select somewhere in that top five. We'll see what the lottery shows, and we'll see how the Blues finish the season. Although that was the most Jordan Binnington thing we've ever seen, right? It's Jordan Binnington being Jordan Binnington. Once you kind of think that, hey, he's lost it, or he hasn't, he's not the guy for Hockey Canada, or he's going to go there and he's going to stumble at the Olympics, he just flips a switch and pitches a shutout against Czechia, the toughest opponent for Canada that they're going to face in the preliminary round. And listen, Canada looked unbelievable. They completely controlled the game. They had the puck the entire game. But make no mistake, Jordan Binnington had to make some saves, and some big saves, especially early on in that game, where he had to come up large. And he looked really, really good. I mean, there were some a goal that was disallowed, right, on the delayed penalty to Suzuki. I mean, just a beautiful backhand, full-length sauce pass. I mean, he would have gotten the secondary assist if the goal by McKinnon would have counted. So, listen, a great sign for the Blues, a great sign for their fans to see Jordan Binnington obviously step up and deliver, represent St. Louis, represent his country, and do what Jordan Binnington does. And then, listen, who knows what that means for his future as an NHL goaltender, who he could be playing with. Does he stay in St. Louis? There's options abound for general manager Doug Armstrong and obviously Alexander Steen. Alexander Steen's an interesting figure in all of this, and for good reason. He's taking over as GM next season. I would imagine he's got a lot of input in terms of what decisions are made. Who does he want on his team moving forward? Who's he looking to move forward with? And obviously, what are you looking in return? And what kind of players do you like? Who do you not like? And so it's almost like a two-headed monster with Doug Armstrong taking the lead. But a great showing by Jordan Binnington. Canada plays their second game today. And looking forward to that. I think that's a 2:10 local time start. So I don't know if this show is going to be out there before the games are before that game begins. They play Switzerland today. Pew Suter, obviously, in Switzerland. Go look at Switzerland's roster, man. They've got better players than people realize. I mean, Roman Josi, obviously, Fiala. There's a bunch of guys that play for Sweden. Or for Switzerland, that are really good players. Slovakia wins today 3-2. They're not 2-0 to begin the tournament. They win 3-2, the final score over France. And then Sweden falls to Finland in a rivalry game, 4-1 the final. So a big bounce-back game for Finland after they lost their opener in the Olympics. They didn't look good in the first game. Sweden looked just okay, even though they won their first game. But their goaltender was a little bit shaky, and at least in the first game. I say shaky. He didn't see a ton of shots. It's always interesting when a goalie doesn't see or face any shots, and then all of a sudden you got a grade A staring you down right down the Broadway, and you're expected to come up with a big save. That's not always easy. But Sweden, they had some injuries. They're missing Brodin, who would have been a big part of their back end defensively. They don't have Leo Carlsson. There's some other guys who are hurt. Did we overrate Sweden after the first game, thinking that they could be the team that knocks off one of the heavies and kind of spoils the party for either Canada or the Americans? But Team USA looked as advertised. So did Canada. I mean, so much fun to watch both these teams. Speaking of Canada, Colton Parayko, this guy had a hell of a game as well, too. I mean, he defended well. He got better and more comfortable as the game went on. I thought that maybe his first couple of shifts, I don't want to say nerves, but it's understandable if you are a little bit nervous in the early going. But once he got into the flow and the pace of the game, this guy looked unbelievable. Just wheeling around the net, making great passes. So it was good to see, and he had some good defensive plays too. I mean, putting people on their ass from a physical standpoint. He was very physical in that game. So you got to love to see that from Colton Parayko as well. And I know some analysts were suggesting that he shouldn't have even made the team. It's always amazing how you just go by the Blues record this season. I don't know how often they're watching the Blues play. And listen, nobody's having great seasons for the Blues, let's face it. So I do get it from that standpoint. But you can't just look at it that way. It's no different than the New York Rangers, too, who've got JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck in their lineup for Team USA. Just because they're having down seasons as a team should not automatically exclude them from participating in a tournament like this and being in the lineup to begin the tournament. I'm sure Clayton Keller is going to get in there. It's always interesting how they dress one extra forward and one extra defenseman in these games. I mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, this guy couldn't get a shift. Not even one shift against Italy. Playing for Sweden, you couldn't get a shift? Like, you got to be kidding me. Not one shift. And even if that's the agreement going into the game, hey, you're the seventh defenseman, you're not going to play. You're playing Italy. You're not playing Wayne Gretzky's Oilers from the 1980s. Sweden, get him on the ice. Philip Forsberg, who's on the power play today, but in that first game, he played maybe one shift and had just over a minute of ice time. So, I mean, geez, some tough coaching right there. I didn't know they had that in them over there in Sweden, that the coaches coach like that. But listen, it's fun to get this tournament started on the men's side. The women's side, listen, Team USA looks great. In terms of Team USA, my favorite player to watch in that game was Jack Hughes, man. This guy was unbelievable. He had the puck on a string. You couldn't get it away from him. Every time he had the puck, he was hanging on to it. He's wheeling around the zone. He and his brother obviously just have great chemistry. I think having his brother there maybe even elevates his game a little bit. So that was great to see. I mean, I just loved it. Brock Nelson's a guy that, Cam Jansen and I talked about in our last episode as a guy that I felt like could be a breakout player along with Tage Thompson, just because Thompson wasn't on the Four Nations team. So you kind of consider him a breakout guy because he wasn't on the previous American roster last year. And he scores a beautiful backhand goal. I like where they have him on the power play. I want to see him tee up some one-timers, and you will. But they're just so loaded. It's an embarrassment of riches for Canada and USA. But Brock Nelson is having such a good – he's got 29 goals already this season. Nathan McKinnon has 40, but he's got 29 on the best team in the NHL. This guy plays with so much confidence. He's got a unique game and skill set in terms of how he plays. And he's experienced. He scored over 300 goals in the NHL. He's been a very consistent player throughout the course of his career. Go look at his season after season after season numbers in the NHL playing with the Islanders prior to coming over to Colorado. This guy has been an exceptional NHL player his entire career. A late first-round pick, went to North Dakota. I just love watching Brock Nelson play, and I wasn't surprised that he scored 2 goals in the opener. And he hit the post, and he had another goal disallowed, unless it hit JT Miller. I'm not so sure if it did or not. But that was the goalie interference call. 2 goals for Team USA were disallowed. So all of a sudden the game was a 1-1 game against Latvia, and you're like, whoa, where's this going to go? But then the flood just it broke it wide open, and obviously Team USA just were able to take over. So anyway, so I'm glad the Olympics have gotten started. I love Brock Nelson, Matthew Tkachuk. Listen, as the game went on, let me say this about Matthew. I don't think he's 100%. I really don't. I mean, we've seen this guy when he's at 100%, and even at like 90% or 80%, whatever he's at right now, this guy is still better than most players in the world. And he's got a unique game, too. I mean, he could have had a couple of goals if there were some plays around the net. Maybe all you had to do is slide it over to him, and he could have banged it home. And, he's always in position to make plays. If you watch him play inside the offensive zone, in terms of how smart Matthew Tkachuk is, the puck doesn't stay on his stick very long at all. I mean, the one-touch passes. He knows where the puck's going to go before he even gets it. And that's what separates him from pretty much everybody else on the ice. He's not the fastest skater. He doesn't have the best shot. He's super skilled, but he's not toe dragging guys at the same time. He's just got great hands all around the ice, but he's so intelligent. His passing skills are elite. His ability to protect the puck is elite. His brain is elite. And you can talk about the foot speed or the shooting and all that, but here's a guy who's had 100 points, I think, twice. He's been a 40-goal scorer, a two-time Stanley Cup champion. And you're going to see his game evolve and get better and better and better as this tournament goes on. He only played a handful of games with the Panthers because of injury. And he wanted to get himself up to speed and how much this tournament means to him. But there's no way that he's 100%. It's amazing to see what he's doing at less than 100%. But you'll see him get more and more comfortable as the tournament goes on. But as the game went on yesterday, I mean, he was touching the puck more. He had the puck more. I wouldn't mind to see him play with Jack Hughes on a consistent basis. I know they have him and Brady with Eichel. We'll see if the line combinations kind of change. And I don't mind that. Eichel obviously is a great player. And, I like Brady and Matthew on the same line, but I don't feel like they have to play together. I think if it was an NHL scenario, much like the Four Nations were, where fighting's allowed, and it's a tournament that only has 4 teams, more rivalry games, more intensity within the games, more scrums after whistles, more physicality. I mean, you're just not getting that when you play Latvia. You're not going to get it when you play Germany and some of these other teams, Denmark. So when you're playing Canada, yeah, with NHL rules, Sweden, Finland, Czechia, I get it. Those teams that are loaded with NHL players who play more of an NHL brand. But, Matthew Tkachuk, he's so skilled. I wouldn't mind to see him play with, a little more dynamic playmaking at the center position, even though Jack Eichel's an elite player. Listen, he's an unbelievable skater. He is a great passer, and he can shoot the puck. So we'll see how it plays out as the tournament goes on in terms of who plays with who. But I do love the American defense. I think it's deeper than Canada's defense, although Canada looked pretty damn good as well. And just the addition of Quinn Hughes changes everything. And Hellebuck, listen, it was good to see him get to the first game. Sounds like Swayman's going to play in game 2. And everybody that we've had on the Chemistry podcast and different conversations we've had on here, a lot of people have said, hey, Swayman should be the next guy up. He's had an unbelievable season. He was the guy last year in the World Championships, much like Tage Thompson and Clayton Keller. I think that elevated the opinion of those internally with USA Hockey and helped them make this team. Not to mention they're both, they're all sick NHL players putting up great numbers and having great seasons. I think that really helped Jeremy Swayman. He carried that over into this season. Last year, if you remember, he had the holdout. He had a contract issue and just never really seemed to discover his game. He has this year. He's unbelievable. And this guy's been good for a long time. So I'm excited to see him get back in there, get him a game. But, the reality is in a tournament like this, you almost got to settle in on one guy. You want to get a second guy a game or 2 maybe, but there really isn't even time to get the third guy a game just based on the schedule. I mean, you want to get your number 1 guy as much action as possible, which is why when you look at, Logan Thompson and the goaltending situation for Canada, Thompson's going to get a game. It's a back-to-back situation, so I get it. But then you go back to Binnington, and I think unless Binnington really struggles, he may carry the ball the rest of the way. Maybe Thompson gets another game, but you're going to see Binnington for the bulk of the play the rest of the tournament for Canada, unless he just has unforeseen struggles and he just can't stop the puck and has some issues there. Then obviously maybe you're forced to make a change. But that's the way it's got to be. I just don't think there's time to just get everybody playing time and get everybody in the net. There's just no way. So Ottinger, I don't know if he's going to play. I would assume that he may get some time, but you just never know. There's not real time for that. You just got to get Hellebuck as much action as possible to make sure that you're comfortable with him entering the quarterfinal games. Swayman, get all these guys action, because once you get into those winning, losing go home games. Once you get to the quarterfinals, then obviously it's too late. You better make sure you're making the right decision. So, hey, the third goalie may end up being just a practice goalie. Maybe they should have it like NCAA college games where 3 goalies are on the bench, which is the dumbest rule. It's the silliest thing I've ever seen in hockey. Is in college hockey how 3 goalies dress and 3 goalies are on the bench. I mean, it makes 0 sense to me. It makes it look like a mini-mite team, or you have 3 guys in goalie pads or something like that, or like a youth hockey team where you have 3 goalies. Why would you need 3 goalies on the bench in college hockey? That makes no sense. All right, lots to get into with Jamal Mayers. That's coming up. And then obviously Sam Cosentino, he's going to join us, and we're going to talk a lot about the top prospects. We'll get into the Olympics with him too. He's covered a ton of international competition, U18s, under 20s. He's all over the draft. And so we're going to make sure you guys, everybody, listen, there's no stone left unturned when it comes to the familiarity with NHL prospects and draft picks coming up. Did you see the kid Smits? Albert Smits playing for Latvia, the 18-year-old defenseman. I mean, how good is he? I mean, that kid. They want to take him. I don't know. The Blues need D, but they need centers in the worst way. One more thing before we get to Jamal Mayers. Dalibor Dvorsky. I know, listen, we're in this day and age of where you want instant gratification. And you see how he's played in the first couple of games in the Olympics, and how he played in the American League, and how he played in the OHL, and pretty much at every stop along the way, except for when he was playing professionally over in Sweden, where he wasn't playing very much, and left and went to the OHL and put up a ton of points. This guy is going to be so good, and this is why you got to be patient with him. And you started to see that. His last 10 games or so, I think, have been some of his best games as an NHL player. His game is only trending upward. And he's going to come back from this tournament with a ton of more confidence. I mean, this guy is going to be so good. And there's a reason why the Blues drafted him in the top 10. He was the 10th overall pick. It's not often you get top 10 picks. When you get a top 10 pick, you want to make sure you hit on it. You can't miss when you pick in the top 10. You certainly can't miss when you pick in the top 5. And trust me, teams have done that in the past. And that'll set you back. But they didn't miss with this kid. He's got so much ability, so much hockey sense. His passing, his playmaking ability, we all know that he can shoot the puck. The pace of play is not an issue for me. I know he's not a burner by any means, but the rest of his game makes up for it. He's so good. And at 20 years of age, for him to doing what he's doing right now in the National Hockey League, and then you see him on a different stage, you got to appreciate and be excited about what you have moving forward. He's playing in the Olympics. Jimmy Snuggerud, 4 years from now, could be playing in the Olympics too for Team USA. You never know how his career is going to turn. But when these guys go through a little bit of a lull, you got to keep in mind their experience, their age, and how that's going to happen. And now you're seeing Snuggerud and Dvorsky, prior to the break, play their best hockey in the National Hockey League. So again, a lot to be excited about with those two. Mayu's getting better. Urasek is going to be here. You're going to have Carbonneau here eventually. Although, I just pump the brakes sometimes when we see some of these stats in the CHL. And especially in the Quebec League. I'm not going to take it away from him. This guy's scoring basically every single night. He's almost a goal per game guy. So he's too good for that league. But does that mean he's going to walk right into the National Hockey League? I think we may have to pump the brakes on that. You got to see him play and see what it looks like come training camp next year. Maybe he gets some games at the end of the year this season. Get his feet wet in the American League and see what that looks like for a guy like Justin Carbonneau. But you look at some of these guys who put up great numbers in the CHL and who have moved into college hockey, and they're not putting up great numbers. I think, if anything, this has given NCAA hockey so much credibility in the eyes of a lot of Canadian media who do focus on prospects and focus on amateur hockey, but they don't really watch college hockey. Now you're seeing more Canadian players who have played and put up great numbers in the CHL come over to play college hockey, and it's brought those eyes with them. A lot of the media, a lot of the analysts, and they're like, whoa, yeah, it's tougher, it's harder, it's an older league, it's not as easy, you don't play as many games, it's harder to get points. But look at some of these guys. The Blues have some prospects, too, who have played in the Western League, who are now playing college hockey. And they're not putting up nearly the same numbers. The production isn't even close. So big shout out to college hockey, man. That is the best amateur league in the world right now, I think. Doesn't mean it's going to produce the most players until you get more and more kids coming over from the other leagues in the CHL, but you're going to see more and more of them coming. Anyway, we'll talk some amateur hockey coming up. First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. If you're ready to buy a home, you need a home loan. You know that. What's the best kind of home loan? Most people would say they want a 30-year term to keep their payment affordable, plus a great rate and low closing costs. First Community has that loan. Our members' best home loan has a rate of 6% for a 30-year term. And at First Community, there is no fee for the application, processing, or closing of your home loan. Apply today for our members' best home loan. Terms and conditions apply. So call toll-free 1-888-642-7969 to learn more. Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. He'll talk some hockey with you. He'll also fix your roof and make your siding and everything else you look to upgrade look as best as it's ever looked before. People will come over and be like, what happened to your house? It looks completely different. That's because David Novak got a hold of it. 314-920-5713. Call Blue Note Roofing today. Let him take care of you. Gutters, fascia, soffit, fascia, siding, roofing, gutters, whatever it is. Wind, hail damage, as it says on the sign right behind me. Check that out. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app today and check out all the great deals. The deals are so good they call them steals. Mention the promo code BLUES, you get free delivery if you live within 10 miles of a Dirt Cheap store, which you probably do. There's stores everywhere. Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Dirt cheap, baby. Don't sleep on the party supplies. If you've got St. Patrick's Day parties coming up, Valentine's Day parties coming up this weekend, you can get all your party supplies and everything you need. Paper goods, all of that at Dirt Cheap. In addition to the best selection of beer, wine, and booze over there at Dirt Cheap. They also have discounts on Blues game days, so be sure to ask about that as well. But download that app for Dirt Cheap. Cheap, fun, your one-stop party shop. Lordo's Diamonds, get that special someone something special in your life. Get them something special from Lordo's Diamonds. Are you looking to pop the question? No better place to get the engagement ring. Best selection of engagement rings anywhere. Mike and Jimmy Lordo will flat out take care of you. They are unbelievable. 314-432-8008 if you want to call them, if you have any questions. If you walk in there with a $500,000 budget or a $500 budget, you're going to get treated exactly the same. They are unbelievable when it comes to customer service. Mike and Jimmy Lordo, Pat, everybody over there. Cindy, whoever it is you want to deal with at Lordo's Diamonds, you'll walk out a happy person, I promise you. LordosDiamonds.com, right there in the heart of Ladue, right next to Truffles. You can't miss it. All right, Jamal Mayers is next. Looking forward to speaking with Jammer. We got lots to get into with Jammer here coming up next on Hockey Sense. Thanks for joining us as always. And as always, brought to you by First Community. Stay with us. All right, Jammer's with us. Let's get it out of the way. Who brought you?
Oh my God.
I know. We don't have to do all of them, but Spas and More, I was over there the other day.
All right.
Hey, hi, Angie. I got to give you a shout out. Hi, Angie. Pumping Jammer's tires.
Look at you. Absolutely.
I saw everything you're getting. I know exactly
You
what's
already
going on.
know?
Yeah. Can I just do the right? I want to say what Jamal's getting. He's getting the cold tub, which I like. The sauna. Are you getting the 3-person sauna or the 2 or the 3?
I'm getting it, but I'm not. I'm getting a traditional. They can also have.
Oh, you have
they
the
access.
outdoor.
They also have access not to the infrared. I want the actual Finnish traditional type hot
Yeah, because
sauna.
yours is going to be outside.
Yes.
So a lot of them, they have indoor ones.
Right.
And then they also have indoor or outdoor.
Yes.
Those are fantastic.
Yeah, and a hot tub too.
I'm getting a Michael Phelps hot tub.
Look at you with a swim spa.
No.
Oh.
I thought about that. And
they have both. You know, you can get the Michael Phelps has the hot tub and cold tub.
I know.
Tandem.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it's a single person thing. So
oh no, see.
You're not gonna
this is gonna be like, nice for my kids to have their friends over and do their thing and whatever. And they're so nice. These Michael Phelps hot tubs, they're not the hot tubs I remember from when I was a kid. So check it out. All different types of pressure, Bluetooth for music and everything.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? They're a local master spas dealer with 2 locations, Sunset Hills in Missouri, obviously, in Overland Park in Kansas City. Mike Leahy's the owner. And he obviously, they deal with Master Spas. It's an American hot tub and swim spa manufacturer that's located in Fort Wayne.
Mhm.
They're the largest hot tub swim spa manufacturer in the U.S. We talked about Michael Phelps, the Chili Goat Tubs. Angie Hess, Mike's daughter, and Brian Oldham run the Sunset Hills location. Spas and more. High quality hot tub swim spas, cold tubs, infrared saunas. It depends for your health, your wellness, your relaxation needs. Turn your backyard into an oasis of your dreams with a master spas from Spas and More. Spas and More located at 12957 Gravois Road in Sunset Hills. You know what it is.
We put the in spa.
There you go.
We'll get to the rest of them later on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who's your favorite team to watch right now in the Olympics?
Both Canada and the United
Oh my
States.
God. Who?
I'm going to
They
stay on the
both
fence.
looked as advertised, which was great to see. Sometimes the first game coming out of the gate, you know what? Maybe it takes teams a little bit longer to come together. Not with those two teams.
I thought the U.S. showed a really good amount of resilience, having, I believe, 2 goals called back.
Yeah.
You kind of could give a little exhale. They've got tremendous leaders and, just high-end skill. A couple of those goals. Nelson's, I think it was
His second
passing of that second one was insane.
Jack Hughes to Quinn Hughes to Matthew Tkachuk to Jack Hughes back to Brock Nelson.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. Jack Hughes was incredible. He was my favorite player to watch in that game, Jamal. And there was some talk coming in, like, with the practices and all this. He's going to be fourth line, extra guy. Like, he's dealt with a lot of injuries. And I think having his brother there, too, like, they were, like, you see them kind of overlapping one another, drop passes. Like, I just think that's elevated his game also. He's an unbelievable player. And sometimes you need a tournament like this to remind you how good some of these guys are.
And I think that what's nice about the tournament for the guys that have elite skating ability and skill, even though it's on the smaller ice, that you're going to see more of it. So it's a different type of game than you're going to watch in the NHL. It might come more to that when it's Canada versus US.
Yeah.
But it's a different brand of hockey. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, he had a lot of space. I want you to talk of the importance. I'm watching Matthew Tkachuk. And here's a guy, he's probably not even 100%.
No.
He looks like he's about 85%, to be honest with you. But he has the puck all the time. But he doesn't keep the puck on his stick very long. Like, he knows where the puck is going before he even gets it. His one-touch passes, he puts himself in position, Jamal. Like, he's super skilled, but again, you don't see him toe-dragging everybody. Not the fastest guy, doesn't have the hardest shot. Why is he so successful? Like, what makes him so great? Because he truly is great. He's an unbelievable hockey player to watch, even at less than 100%. Because as the game went on, he just continued to show more and more flash. And you just wonder, is Eichel and Brady, are they the right line mates for him? He and Brady, yeah, I mean, they got a lot of chemistry, but it's not an NHL game. It's not as many scrums. It's not as physical. There's no fighting. He can play with the highest and highest of skill guys, too.
Yeah, I think for me, as I think through that, it comes down to a couple factors. One, their dad, Keith, was unbelievable, in my opinion, probably the best I've seen at playing the give and go game. Understanding that it's give it to you, get it back, give it to you, get it back, all over the ice, whether that's at the blue line, at the hash marks, behind the
Didn't
net.
harry it too much.
No, but it was all about creating 2-on-1s all over the ice. And I think that Matthew knows where those quiet spaces are on entries. You'll see him slow up and open up and face the plate, drawing someone in to make a play.
Yeah.
He'll do that all over the ice. He's a tremendous passer, but understands the time and space. And I think that his probably conversations, I would assume, on the bench have to do with come to me. I'll draw people to me, but come toward me, and then we'll play off of each other. And he does that so well. I think that what you're seeing is his ability to, play that give and go game is one factor. I think the other factor is that he is a student of the game and is, ever since he was younger, and hearing about him watching the game with Walt, he understands the game. It's not about how fast you are, how quick you are, he knows his skill set. He's a tremendous passer. He's got a gross, awful looking blade for a reason. He's not there to rip shots from the top of the circle. That's more Brady, right? Brady has a shot
Yeah.
that he can score from distance. For Matthew, his game's predicated on around the net, give and go, making sure the passes are nice and flat, putting the puck to space, playing off each other, protecting it, and understanding where those areas are to create offense. So, and you're going to see those, in my opinion, be ever more evident than on the power play. That's where his magic sauce is because that's the game where he's creating those 2-on-1s and supporting. And I'm assuming he's going to be in that bumper position on the power play because that's
Or down
down
low
low.
on the goal
You can
line,
do
you know?
both, you know.
Yeah.
So, just a really, really smart player. For any young hockey player out there, like watch the way he plays the game. It really is impressive.
Because not many guys could play that way at
No.
his pace, right?
No, he's not. It's a great example of hockey IQ trumping speed
Mhm.
and shot and all those things that we always think that are the most important.
Yeah.
Hockey IQ is off the charts for him.
And I saw him tracking back, getting back. And he gets moving, though, too. It's not like he
Yeah.
can skate, you know. It's just,
Smart player.
yes. So I just love watching him play. But, you know, you look at some of the other centers on the team. You look at Brock Nelson. You look at, you know, whoever it is, Eichel. I mean, it's just an embarrassment of riches that anybody can play with anybody. But I'll be curious to see what those line combinations look like as they continue to advance through the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, I wish we saw Canada and USA play a preliminary game, to be honest with you.
Oh, let the anticipation.
They may not even play unless they both get to the gold medal game, which they should. Sweden loses today to Finland. So, like, that was supposed to be the team that's going to disrupt things. And for them to get pounded the way that they did in a rivalry game, which really was a must-win for Finland. So maybe they just didn't match that desperation. But
Yeah.
that's a good showing for Finland to come back and win that game.
It is, especially after losing the first game. You're a little bit concerned because I had them at the top of the chart. Even though they're missing Barkov, they're still a tremendous team.
Loaded, yeah.
And you're like, okay, what's going to happen? I felt like coming into the tournament, we were all guilty of it in the media, talking about Canada, US, perhaps not giving enough respect to Finland and Sweden, and you know, even some are saying like, look out for Germany. I don't feel that way so much. They might steal a game here and there, but I think it's really those four nations, obviously without Russia that being there, that are going to factor into things. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how Sweden responds now that Finland has responded, and where we end up. But I like the fact that there's a lot more games, and you get to see a lot more teams play.
Yeah, and Germany, they probably have more talent on their roster than Slovakia does. You know what I mean? I mean, Slovakia's got some players too. Slovakia's won their first two games.
Right.
Although I think they beat Italy, I think, in the second game,
Yep.
right? So this morning, what do you think this will do for Dalibor Dvorsky's confidence, though? Like, he started playing his best hockey, I thought, as an NHL player. And what does he have, like 40-something games, 50-something games maybe under his belt as an NHL player? But his last 10 games, you're really starting to see it from him and guys like Snuggerud and some of these other younger players. He's got a ton of international experience. I think he played in the World Juniors like 4 times. It was like a 15 and 16-year-old. But what will this do for his confidence, you think?
I think it's massive. I think that it's another example for him to not only know that he fits in, because that's probably the first challenge is that you're coming in as a young guy in the NHL. Like, I don't want to hurt the team. I want to fit in. But he also knows he's a offensive player. And for an offensive player, you want to produce, you know. And so starting to have that producing capability, showing his shot, finding those soft areas to demonstrate that tremendous shot
Playmaking
has been really, really cool to see. And I definitely think it's going to transfer to even more confidence offensively when he gets back.
He's 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hear some criticism at times, like they expect like the instant gratification of these 20-year-old kids who last year at 19, like he's playing in the American League. There's no other 19-year-olds in the American League, and he had over 20 goals as a 19-year-old in the American League. Like everything points to, and he's drafted in the top 10 for a reason. So everything points, I think, towards the Blues hitting on something here with their top 10 pick, who's going to be a really good player moving forward. So it's always interesting when you see him get around his peer group, Slavkovsky and some of these other guys, Papasil, these other guys that are on that team for Slovakia, like, and how his confidence just steps up. He's like, you know, so I hope that continues and he brings that with him back here to St. Louis.
Yeah, it will. It will. That's exciting. Really exciting part to see. And, you're hoping that he can take another step.
All right, so Jordan Binnington, it's the most Jordan Binnington thing ever that we saw yesterday, right? That's something he would do, right? Right when everyone's discounting him or counting him out, he pitches a shutout. And I know that game wasn't nearly as close as I thought maybe it would be. I thought Czechia would put up a bigger fight, but he had to make some big saves in that game, man. I mean, he he got a shutout. It wasn't like it was just a game that was completely lopsided and he didn't face any shots. He had to make some saves.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was playing Latvia or something,
Yeah.
right?
I know.
But at the end of the day,
Latvia's goaltender was damn good.
yeah, he was. So, like, what I think it brings up a number of things for me in this. One, good for Jordan Binnington to be able to play. There was a lot of question marks coming in about what are they going to do. Couple of things stand out to me. I love the fact that Coop decided to go with them, and because there had to be a little bit of nerves, but it was the right thing to do to go with them. It wasn't an easy cake game. It was a tough opponent
Yeah.
to have his first game, and it really would have made a lot of question marks had he not performed. But he knew it was on his shoulders. He knew the pressure of the nation of Canada was watching about the confidence that Coop had in making that decision, and to perform in that moment was a massive confidence boost, I would think, for Jordan Binnington, considering all the struggles he's had this season. The other thing I think it does, I think it points it shines a light directly on
I know where
the
you're going with
Blues.
yeah.
Okay,
And what
a
he's
lot of what we've been saying, and I was guilty of it earlier this season, has been saying, well, the goaltending didn't start out well. That's why you're seeing the team not start well. It starts with the goaltending, and now it makes me think: has it been the goaltending?
Mm.
Are there some issues, more glaring issues with the defensive scheme, with the defensive play, with the defensive part of their game that has not allowed Binner and Hofer, for that matter, to perform at the level they can? So
And Hofer's had some great games, right?
Yeah.
But Binnington's had the Colorados, the Edmontons, the Dallases.
Yeah.
I mean, he's played the tougher games. Not to take anything away from Joel Hofer, but I think that's why people were like, because he was playing, he was lights out there for a few weeks. Hofer was before his last game, I believe. And so I think that's where people were like, wow, okay, well, Hofer, he's outplaying Binnington. And he has outplayed Binnington.
Yeah.
But to your point, I just think they haven't been nearly as good enough in front of him. But when you're last in the league in goals saved above expected and whatever, it's like it's alarming. He hasn't played nearly as well, but it's good to see him flip a switch and lock in. And obviously, he's got a little bit of a different team in front of him.
Yeah, and I think now it makes you wonder, okay, so if he continues this performance-wise, when the Olympics are over, whether they win a gold or get a silver, I'm assuming like maybe it's bronze, but plays well,
Mm-hmm.
what's the plan going forward?
Yeah.
Could his stock be any higher? Does it make Jordan Binnington, which it's very difficult to do when you've only played on one team,
Mm-hmm.
to think of yourself have ever played for anybody else for as long as he's played,
Yeah.
for all the success he's had? Does this open up his mind to maybe it's time to move on?
Yeah.
And
I've talked to him about this, Jamal, recently. I know and we've had private conversations, and I know he wants to see this thing through. Like, he loves being a Blue. He loves playing here in St. Louis. But at the same time, it's going to be more about the communication, I think, from the team. Hey, this is where we want to go. This is the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
And they're going to accommodate him. They're going to do what he wants to do. Now, goaltending deadline moves don't always work, right? It's difficult. Learning tendencies of the players you're playing with, going to a different team. There's a lot of pressure. Typically, you're going to if they're going to trade for Jordan Binnington, he's going to accept the trade to go there. He doesn't have a full no trade, but they'll treat it like he does. They're not going to send him somewhere he doesn't want to go.
Sure.
So it's going to be a team that feels like he's a piece that can get them to a Stanley Cup.
Correct.
And so that pressure is going to be there. And maybe that's why it hasn't always worked in the past. I saw that here in St. Louis with Ryan Miller. I mean, he was just a mess. It just didn't work when he was here in St. Louis. But he was a great goalie in Buffalo, obviously. And, he settled in with other teams after he left here and played some good hockey. He played some good games here in St. Louis. And I love the fact that Doug Armstrong went after it and brought the best goaltender available to try to help this team get over the hump. It was a necessary move. It just didn't work. They gave up a first-round pick and whatever else and didn't even keep him. They chose not to keep him beyond the rest of the season. So, but at the same time, I think if you're Jordan Binnington, you got to make that decision, right? At some point, what do you want to do? And you do have Joel Hofer here as well, and you're going to have to give him the ball at some point. But to your point, if he plays well, his stock is as high as it's going to be.
Yes.
Because it wasn't high going into the tournament.
No. So I think that's the decision, that his playing well will make the Blues make a decision on what they're doing. So it's easy now to make the decision to go with Hofer because he's outplaying Binner. Binner goes to the Olympics, outperforms all the goaltenders on the world stage. His stock is never going to be higher.
Right.
It then becomes a question of who are you going to keep?
Mm-hmm.
Because Hofer's value will still be good.
Yeah.
You got to decide what you're going to do with Binner. Binner may be more likely to accept change. And I know you described reasons why you wouldn't want to go. I think he performs better under pressure.
Yeah.
I think he performs better when
he's
it
different.
matters.
He's different.
I think he's built like that. And I think he knows that about himself at this point in his career, that, you know what, I don't even know what teams you would be thinking of.
But you don't think there's guys inside that Canada dressing room right now that are saying, hey,
yeah,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Come play with us.
Yes. 100%.
You don't think Connor McDavid's saying that?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Would you come to us? Yes, we can win with you. Yeah. That's what I find interesting. Those conversations will be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they win, you don't think they're going to be having fun and that conversation is going to be said?
Yeah.
Right? So.
Although I did hear Edmonton may be on his no trade list, but.
Well, conversations with.
You can always change
Connor
that.
Can change that.
Yeah, so that's interesting, you know? But yeah, you gotta sell high, right? So if his stock is at.
Yes.
You don't want to wait, and then all of a sudden, knowing that the team isn't that great in front of them, and all of a sudden change the perception or, limit the return you can get for him, because it's going to be a high asking price, as it should be for a Stanley Cup winning goaltender like him, who will have a Four Nations championship and potentially a gold medal under his belt.
Yeah, and I think that's the point where you may have organizationally decided that Hofer's the guy, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you put yourself in a good position to be like, his play makes the decision easier for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're either bringing him back and moving Hofer, or you're bringing him back and playing Hofer and moving Binner.
Yeah.
I think that it makes for tough decisions.
Yeah.
But his great play at the Olympics will give you options.
I thought Parayko looked good too.
Yeah, I think that I think he'll get better as the tournament
early in the game. It took him a few shifts,
Yeah.
But in the third period, you see like his escapability coming around the net, like his passing ability, like that's when you see Colton Parayko. When he's skating and moving like that, that's when he's at his best.
Yeah, and then his shot is just heavy,
Mhm.
and when he hits the net, like, it's create action, and I think it's just going to take.
And when he's
time.
physical, he buried
Oh.
some Pasternak. It might have been Pasternak.
Was it Boston? I'm not sure, but he's just a beast.
Yeah.
Everyone always wants him to be Chris Pronger, and we talked about this at
Mhm.
length. But if you had Chris Pronger, if he was more like Chris, then you'd be paying him $12 million a year. Like, you got to love what he is, because
Yeah.
he's one of the best defensemen.
You need offense out of him or no?
No, you absolutely do not. Be physical, be hard to play against, kill penalties, move the puck, be a disruptor, skate yourself out of trouble. Just be hard on people.
I tweeted this out yesterday about John Cooper. I don't know if you saw that, and I may have mentioned it on here, how when Tampa Bay was in town, he had Binnington come over to the team hotel, the Lightning team hotel, and they had a couple of Guinnesses, and they just talked for a long time. And Binnington left that conversation feeling very confident. No, it didn't necessarily translate into great play as a Blues goaltender. His next couple of games, he struggled and whatnot. But I had a long talk with Binnington after that meeting, and he just had an extra bounce in his step. One thing I did say to him, I said, "Hey, did he tell you that you're his guy and that you're gonna be in net to start the tournament?" And he just smiled and kinda gave me a wink and said, "No comment," you know? But he was open about a lot of other stuff they talked about, and they sat back, and I think that's what John Cooper's best at. You know what I mean? And I thought it was such a great play to have that conversation with him. And I know everyone's like, "Oh, we don't know who's gonna be in goal." We always knew it was gonna be
Yeah.
Jordan Binnington. We said it over and over and over that he would be the guy to start the tournament. And, it obviously proved to be the best decision, but I think that conversation and that relationship they have goes a long way, and that's what John Cooper that's what separates him from a lot of coaches.
I think that he is a great tactician. I think he understands people. I think he's a really good communicator. Um, I think he's evolved as the game has evolved and knows that you have to have those personal relationships. I think that, especially with your top players, I think it's important that you're on the same page. And I think that um, just as a player, knowing that the coach, whether you're a goalie or a player, knowing that the coach has faith and belief in you,
Mhm.
it goes a long way. And I think that it erases that extra doubt that doesn't need to be there as a player,
Yeah,
as a goalie.
yeah.
And I think that allows Binner to not feel like, geez, if I let in a bad goal, I'm not the guy. And so Koopa's genius at, no, let's put him in a, he might not always believe it,
Correct.
right? But he wanted to give that feeling
Oh,
to
I'm sure
the
Cooper's
players.
watched some of these games the Blues played this year and be like, "Oh my god,
Exactly.
like, this is not good. Like, we may be in trouble
Right.
here." But I gotta go with my guy. Is there even time to play a third goalie? I don't
No,
think there is.
there's time to play two.
Yeah, there's time to well, especially with back-to-back.
Yeah, you're going to play two and
So
you're going to see, but I don't think the third guy gets it.
in reality, so after the second guy gets a game, there may only be time for the second guy to get another maybe one more, potentially, right?
Yeah, I
You
wouldn't.
you gotta roll with your guy, I think, the rest of the way.
I think so. I think they'll base it off the schedule,
Mhm.
but I don't think you're going to see a third guy for either Canada or US.
And it's a comfortable situation for Bennington. I'll say this, and then we'll move on. But Davey Alexander, who's the goalie coach for the Blues, is also the goalie coach for Canada. They're
Nice.
very, very, very close. So I think he knew, like, hey, listen, he was gonna get that opportunity. I guess you just never know, and he should. It's not like the options that Canada are dealing with. I don't see a Marty Brodeur. I don't see a Patrick Waugh.
No,
I don't see a Curtis Joseph. I don't see a Ed Belfour, Roberto Luongo. Carey Price. I don't see any of those.
no, we don't. We don't have that.
What's happened to Canada's goaltending?
Great point.
But Binnington is a winner, man.
Mm-hmm.
Could this put him in a Hall of Fame category if he wins a gold?
Olympic gold, absolutely. I mean, if Henrik Lundqvist is a Hall of Famer without winning a cup, then I
And he went
personally
to a final.
I put value more on winning.
Mhm.
Like, I'd rather have Corey Crawford than
Henrik.
Lundqvist.
Really?
What? So we're saying that Lundqvist just didn't have good enough teams. He made it to the final. He should have won.
Mhm.
He didn't win. I put more value in the winning.
Would you take Chris Osgood over Lundqvist?
That's a tough one because that team had multiple
They
goalies
did. Well,
win, right?
okay, I'm with
you know what I mean? Like the same group with a different,
Sure, Vernon won the
you could say the same thing about
and
Blackhawks because it
Hasek
was
won
Miami
one too.
first, but
Yeah.
to me, it's like the consistency of the winning. with
You
one.
used to speak so highly of Niemi. Like, I remember talking to you about Niemi. You were like,
Yeah.
he's like the hardest worker.
Hardest work I've ever seen as a goalie. The starting goalie would stay on the ice forever. Like, get off the ice. What are you doing?
I know.
But that guy was not, I don't think he'd be insulted by this. He was not athletically gifted, didn't like look great in the net like a goalie. Some goalies just look comfortable. They can't see much. Like Brent Johnson looked like a goalie. Like he just looked, looked
Jake
good.
Allen looks like a goalie.
Looked like a goalie. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're just like, oh, like, dude, look at the blocker side. Like you're off. It just didn't look right, but just worked his tail off.
Yeah. Last thing for you. Anybody surprised you so far in the Olympics that you really like that stands out from Canada or USA? good to see Tage Thompson. I mean, as a sick back.
Yeah,
You know?
that was unbelievable. Who's the defenseman in Columbus?
Oh, Werenski.
Werenski. I just
So smooth.
sometimes you just don't appreciate guys when they're on the wrong. Is that fair to say, the wrong team?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just don't see him because he's not with a great team. That guy is like unbelievable.
So good.
Like smooth, defensive, offensive. Like just if you have a young defenseman that wants to play the position the right way, like he is equal parts defender and equal parts offensive.
And even the guy like Trocheck for Team USA, he was physical. Like when he went out there, like, you know what I'm saying?
Playing a role, right? And people question like, why him? Why not? You know, you can name a bunch of guys, and that's the beautiful thing about. There's several choices now for. I hate to pick on my buddy Sean Podine, but he was on Team USA at one point. Like, that's not the case. There's guys that aren't in the lineup, aren't in Milan because of the depth of.
Well, I'm watching like,
but they're building a team.
If they had Jason Robertson there or Cole Caulfield, it's like I get it. You would nobody would have a problem with them making the team,
right?
But it's like where are you putting them anyway? You've got guys who can all put the puck in the net. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to have some type of balance, I guess, or whatever you're looking for. I don't know. Maybe they.
But listen, if they lose 4-1, those questions are going to come back.
100%.
Right?
We're one game in.
Right. You know, that's the thing. So, and having said that, we're one game in. Banner's got to continue to do it. Right. So it's like
1,000%.
You can't make all these decisions.
No.
I'm just saying it was a great sign.
It was a great sign, and I think he was playing against a legit opponent.
Yes.
First game, he answered a lot of questions.
And lots of questions, and like pressure was on him more than a normal first game.
Yes.
And I think, like we talked about, I think there's something in him.
Yeah.
He's one of those rare guys that he rises.
All right. We'll have lots more to talk about next Friday for sure. Dobbs Tires and Honor Centers, Jammer.
Well, you know what? Winter feels like it's not really there, but you know it still is. And, you know, great family business, only over 40 locations in the St. Louis area. They're all over town. Doesn't matter where you live. The best part about it, they're honest. The best part about it, it doesn't matter what's wrong with your vehicle, whether you need new tires or you need your car diagnosed. Doesn't matter what your car, light truck, car, SUV, hybrid, EV, whatever it may be. They can get your car in, up, fixed, and out the same day. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
There we go. What's for dinner? You know, Frank Cusimano, by the way, my boy from Channel 5, he asked me, have you ever been to this Twin Oaks?
Oh,
I'm like, yeah.
Dude.
It's unbelievable. And Nick Saraceno, by the way, he played for Italy today.
Nice.
Big shout out to Nick. He didn't play in the first game, but he played today. I think he played like 14 minutes.
Awesome.
So big shout out to my boy Nick. We're going to get him on here in the next few weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What an amazing accomplishment. I was joking that if I was Nick, I'd be standing there like, I even though he's a left winger, take a face off against Canada. I hire my own photographer and make sure I got pictures of
it with McDavid and all this guys.
Like,
I know. Make sure you take pictures of that.
Good for him.
I know.
Unbelievable experience. Well, you know what? Barlinos has 5 restaurants. Barlinos South, Barlinos Osteria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris's at the Docket, and our favorite, Barlinos Twin Oaks. Forge many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family model, cook good food, serve plenty, 50+ years in business. Only 2 places to dine, at home or at one of Barlino's family of restaurants.
Okay. All right, Jammer. Thanks, man. Great stuff as always. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics.
All right, bud.
We'll see you soon.
Appreciate you.
Okay. Sam Cosentino, we're talking prospects next. All right, so I said we're going to leave no stone unturned between now and the NHL draft. And Sam Cosentino, he's going to hate me before this is all said and done. He's going to say, stop calling me, stop asking me to come on. But you know how I am, though. When I go and bring guests on, Sam, I want the top, okay? I want the guys who know what they're talking about. So I'm calling you. So I apologize in advance right now that if I have you on about 25 times between now and June, just don't be telling me no, Sam. I need you right now between now and the draft, okay?
Yeah, I'm with you, Strick. Like I'm all good with that. Like it's been a long time since you guys have had to be in this discussion. So that part kind of sucks. I mean, it's a little bit exciting, but I really appreciate you thinking that I'm at the top of the game. Keep that secret. Don't tell anyone else.
No, I won't. But it's interesting because like from a Blues perspective, they've been drafting in the 20s, but they keep getting good players, right? You know, you get the Robert Thomases and some of these other guys. They did pick in the top 10 a few years ago, and they got Dalibor Dvorsky. I'm curious what you thought of Dvorsky entering that draft. He's playing his best hockey. They got Snuggerud in the 20s too. Both those guys playing really good hockey before the break. And I'm seeing Dvorsky put up points now in the Olympics. Like, This guy's only 20 years old, had over 20 goals last year as a 19-year-old in the American League. Where did you see him in the draft? Was he a legit top 10 guy for you?
He was for me. The one I just very slight concern about his skating, but everything else matched up. He could play center, he could play the wing, he could match up in terms of defending and being away from the puck, but also was skilled enough and smart enough to be able to make plays and be a production guy. So I was a huge fan of Dalabor's coming in. Of course, he comes over to Sudbury, he lights it up there, doesn't play very long. And it's funny because when I seen you earlier this year when Winnipeg was in town, I went to talk to Dalibor and he's like, well, technically I could have been playing in my 5th World Juniors, which I think to put that into context for most people, that's crazy. I don't know if I can't even think of anyone that's ever done it. The fact that he did 4 of them, well, he had the COVID year, but that I think tells a lot of the whole story that he's been one of the best players in this country for a long, long time now, and he continues down that road. So really like the young man, really happy for his NHL success for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, you and I were talking too when we were talking to Otto Stenberg, and you said, "Hey, look out for his brother." That was his first NHL game, I believe, and
yeah.
I talked to his parents in the crowd that night on our television broadcast, and we talked a little bit about Ivar. And then the World Juniors take place, and now he's a big star, and he was all over television doing commercials during the World Junior Championships, and he's a legit possibility. I'll talk about Ivar here in a second, but Otto Stenberg, he's another one like who the Blues got in the 20s, right? I mean, he's going to play for a long time too, Sam.
Yeah, and the thing about Otto, like, the conversation inevitably is going to shift over to his brother at some point, but I don't think offense comes as easy to Otto as it does his brother.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is he'll always get good looks because he knows where to go. It just seems to me the finishing thing. Now, I don't know if you've experienced that, in his play in the American League or in the National Hockey League so far in his young career there, but he was a little more challenged to produce offense in terms of, hey, goals, assists, points, not being like really good at steal, being able to get good looks or set others up for good looks, but just the finish piece of it, I think, was missing from his game to the extent that Ivar does not have that issue. But Otto, I again, as another player, I think the world of. And so, when you look at where the Blues have drafted and what they've drafted, a big part of what they're doing is the character. We've talked about it already with Stenberg, a little bit with Dvorsky as well. And again, Jimmy Snuggerud's a guy I got to follow in his draft year. A big fan. In fact, I picked him this year to be the Calder Trophy winner, being injured and then seeing what that young punk Matthew Shaper is doing is it's unbelievable to think that he's the leader in that conversation right now for sure.
Yeah, Shaper's been incredible. And again, Snuggerud, we're starting to see him get more and more confident, more comfortable, obviously. And the team's been losing. It's just been an interesting season. That's hard for rookies, I think, to really find their comfort level and really gain that confidence when the season has gone the way that it has. I want to ask you about a couple other guys before we move on to this year's draft. Adam Urasek, who's a guy who was unbelievable in the World Juniors this past year.
Yeah.
He's carried that over, obviously, with his play with Brampton in the OHL. This guy could be here as soon as next season. Who knows? Maybe he even finishes the year this year in the National Hockey League. You never know how that plays out with the organization making decisions. But how good is this guy? He's had the injuries, and now all of a sudden he looks like, you're hearing the comparisons to Alex Pietrangelo internally among Blues management. I mean, are you on the same page with that?
I don't know if I would go that heady with him, but he was an interesting pick for St. Louis where he was picked because he was injured for most of the year previous to the draft. And we have seen that in the past, Brett Connolly or Morgan Riley. Those would be a couple of examples of guys who went in the top 10. Now, Juracek didn't go there, but I'm saying in terms of being injured in your draft year and still being picked and still having a very successful career. So I do think Juracek, and watching him, I mean, he was by far and away their best D at the World Juniors. And it's fun to watch that progression. Like, I always think about, okay, so you're going to play above your age group, then you're going to play with your age group, Then you're going to go back and play junior. You're going to play in a bunch of these different areas, and the ability to translate your game to all these different factions and teams, I think is really important. So Adams has shown the ability to do that. He's on a great team in Brantford right now. Like, I think he's just going to do wonders there. That's a team that I expect to go really deep, into the playoffs and maybe even make a Memorial Cup run. So it'll be fascinating to watch him continue to play in those high leverage situations. And good on the Blues scouting staff for having the kind of confidence and having done their homework previous to his draft year. So you already had a book as a guy who was playing up anyways, that you had a pretty good book on him, that, on the currency he had created before the draft and before the injury.
Yeah, and because of the injuries, there was a little bit of unknown. And, listen, they made the trade for Logan Mailloux, another right shot guy to come in. And, that was prior to this season when Jurasek really took off. So you just wondered, do they make that trade if they saw Jurasek kind of elevate his game at the rate that he has this season? It's been unbelievable. Mailloux, real quick, I know he had the issues going into his draft year, but did you like him?
Yeah.
Like, he was worthy of a first-round pick for sure, right?
I thought he was. I remember watching him skate a couple of times at a private skate. So that was during COVID. And one of the local fathers here had tipped me off that they were skating privately at a rink pretty close to my place. So I went down and caught a look at him. And you just looked at the size and being a right shot guy. You figured that there was going to be a lot there. Now, how much was what he did pre-draft, going to hurt him? You knew there was that element that existed, but then when Montreal went and took him in the first round, it was part of what I think got Marc Bergevin fired, but also part of what made the trade plausible for St. Louis, because technically you're getting a first rounder and not a second rounder. So listen, you and I have been kids before. We've done some stupid stuff in our past. It was never quite documented the way it is now. Unfortunately for Logan, that was probably a little bit more serious than a stupid incident, but I'm happy to feel that he's put that in his rear view now, and he can just continue and focus on playing hockey.
Yeah, he's a great kid too, man, and his game is getting more and more comfortable as the season goes on as well. Hey, Luve Herenstam, I mean, he wins the gold medal. I mean, they got a lot of. We'll see what he turns into and how he develops moving forward. But real quick, NHL goaltender for you, is he on that path?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I always look at goalies in their draft year. So you think about where they come from in minor hockey. So you're playing, and you got a kid in AAA hockey, you're playing enough games. Then you get into your next level, whether it's the junior ranks and the J18, the J20 if you're playing in Sweden. How many games are you actually going to play there as a 17-year-old? And then as an 18-year-old, and then you're in your draft year and you're continuing to, like, you need miles. And miles are hard to get as a goalie because teams want to win, and typically teams don't trust younger goaltenders. And so it's hard to get the kind of minutes you need in order to develop. So when I look at goalies, and I think Binner is actually a pretty good example of this, they're not really good until they're 25. It's just, they just need to get miles. And so, when you're drafting goalies, that's something that you have to keep in mind. Is one guy going to play in the coast who you expect to make a jump, and then the next guy in the American League? Or does your American League team want to win and have to rely on an older guy? And then when you get to the NHL, how much do you want that guy who's sort of transitioning? And you're seeing it with Hofer too, like coming up and playing, what's the correct number of games before he sits too long or he loses his confidence? Or is he better off in the American Hockey League where he's going to play maybe 50 or 60 games? So those things are always challenging when it comes to goalies, but I feel that they don't get good until they're 25 anyhow.
Yeah, I remember sitting with Larry Plow, former longtime GM of the St. Louis Blues. This is years ago, and I think it's changed now, but he did a whole study. I mean, he had, goaltender after goaltender after goaltender. Very few actually made it to the NHL with the team that originally drafted them back in the day. I mean, they would end up being part of trades or, whatever, a team losing patience, they're not developing as quickly as they, and end up making it with another team. That's changed now. We're seeing a lot of these, especially the highly, drafted guys, they're getting to the NHL with the team that drafted them, but it does take time. 22, 23-year-old goaltenders, man, it's hard to come up at a young age and be ready to play with everything that's coming at you in the NHL. So I thought it was a good point by you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Justin Carbonneau, real quick. You didn't have a problem with him not making Canada's World Junior team. I think people look at him like he's scoring a goal per game almost.
Yeah.
Is you think he's NHL ready coming into next season? No?
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to kind of like need some Stenberg time in the American Hockey League to readjust to the pace of the game. So that would be my only thing. I think he'll skate well enough. I don't think that's a huge issue. But then just being able to play the game at that pace. So that pass that you can wait for in junior and wait a little bit of extra time and make it, or come across the line and curl and slow things down and wait. Like, I think the idea for him and for me and his development, it's just pace, and it's really just kind of getting after it, because we already know that you can slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know that you can play it at high speed, because if everyone knows you're just going to come down, you're going to button hook, you're going to turn, you're going to wait. Okay, well, you've become so predictable. You haven't shown me that, hey, I can go and beat you wide on the outside. I can take it to the net. I can drop that shoulder, my butt cheek down and get to the net. So I think those are areas that he's going to be able to be successful at. I just think he has to do it a little more often, so he becomes a dual threat guy once he gets across center ice.
Yeah. I mean, he's a bull in the china shop right now. I mean, he's too good for that league, right? I mean, he's
Yeah, I agree.
too strong, too big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just, and so that'll be a little bit different, obviously. And I saw him play some NHL preseason games last year, and you know, but early in preseason when it really wasn't stacked NHL rosters, and but as the camp went along and the guys went away, I mean, you just saw his game maybe slip a little bit, but there's still a lot to be excited about with him. Well, how are you evaluating the kids who are playing NCAA hockey right now versus the kids in the CHL? Has that really changed? I mean, the Blues have guys, and I see guys all over who put up, big time numbers in the CHL who are now going, who've gone to college, they're playing NCAA hockey, and those numbers don't flash nearly as much. So how should we look at the CHL versus the NCAA?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I had a conversation with Gavin McKenna at the World Juniors, and the one thing I asked him about the college game, and he said, well, I'll be honest with you, the WHL is a more skilled game, but playing at the NCAA level is more of a pro style game. And so he had the WHL on the skill side figured out, which is why he went to Penn State in order to get the other side figured out. And it's taken him basically a half a year or more to get to the point now where he looks like a guy who's serviceable away from the puck and serviceable on the D side of it, and so on and so forth. But it is a fascinating element, because not only is the competition bigger, older, faster, stronger, but the style of game is different. So now you're evaluating, it's a lot of apples against oranges. And I think that's a really challenging thing for scouts, because your idea is to project what's going to happen moving forward. Some of the projection is point production, whether you like it or not. So numbers, they do matter. And I guess the best example we have of that right now is Tynan Lawrence, who was playing in the USHL, got hurt in the preseason, came back, played a couple of games, wasn't quite ready, actually came back for real, started to put up a bunch of points in Muskegon, and then he says, all right, I'm going to take off and play for Jay Pandolfo at BU. Well, he goes to BU, he has 1 point in his first 9 games, he's playing about 18 minutes, so he's getting, top 6 minutes, yet he's not producing, but this is the guy who all he did was produce in the USHL and for Canada at the Hlinka. So now you're sitting there saying, as a scout and as an evaluator, like, oh boy, is this going to be something that we feel is going to be an ongoing trend? Is it a confidence issue? Is it an adjustment issue? Is he actually still hurt? So now you have all of these questions in your mind, because you're so used to watching a guy who's produced at a high level, and now he's not. But then you have to take into consideration, wow, this guy's making a switch to the NCAA midstream, coming off an injury. He has to be given a hall pass of whatever length that is before you really can kind of evaluate him and see what type of player you expect him to be at the next level. But when we talk about center strict, there's 3 of them probably in the top 10 or 12 guys. Tynan Lawrence is one of those guys. Malhotra is another one. So you're sitting there and you're saying, if I'm going to compare him against the top centers, and my team is picking in the top 10 and has the need at center, and we want to go there because there's more positional value there to that player, I better be darn sure that I'm getting the guy that I saw in the USHL, and maybe not necessarily the guy that I've seen so far at BU.
So if Gavin McKenna was playing in the WHL this year, how much hype would there be? I mean, would we be drawing comparisons to the Connor Bedard type level hype about him going first overall? And
yeah,
has that simmered down a little bit with him going to college?
I think we talking about that kind of hype because you're probably looking at the midway mark of the season where he's already surpassed the 100-point total. And again, points they're always going to play. Like every said, oh yeah, I'm not worried about the points. Bull crap. The points they do mean something. Let's be honest here. And so when it comes to McKenna, the thing that we were watching as evaluators in the first half is, again, is he engaged in play along the wall? Is he fighting for space in front of the net? Is he going to be able to make plays outside of just being a power play guy? Is he going to compete hard enough on the backtrack to be able to, like the Mitch Marners or the Austin Matthews of the world that can pick pucks and strip pucks and they get it turned back before you have to even worry about playing in your own zone? And some of those things were lacking in his game. Some of the effort of getting back. Some of that was lacking in his game. I think at World Juniors, he learned some pretty significant lessons there. He did put up good points, but a good number of them were against some of the weaker competition. And so now he's come back and he's obviously had the off ice issue, but in terms of pure point production, he's been a fire wagon since he's gotten back from the World Juniors. So he's a really interesting guy because in terms of the pure upside, he probably has the most of anybody. But then you compare him to someone like Stenberg and you're like, oh, well, Stenberg has a more well-rounded game already that for sure is going to translate.
Who would you take first overall?
I would take Stenberg right now. I would. I would. There's a little bit more safety in it. Yes, you are taking a winger, so there is a little bit of a drop in terms of positional value. But the kind of things that this guy does, the swagger he plays with, when the intense pressure is on most, that's when he plays his best. Like, this is an underage guy who's utilized in every single situation in the semifinal game and in the gold medal game and performed at his best in those two games as an underage player. So that says a lot to me. It's not just that, though, Strick. This guy's doing things that even the Sedins didn't do when they were playing in the SHL in their draft eligible year. And that says a lot to me about his SHL numbers as well.
Wow. That's really interesting. The off-ice incident with Gavin McKenna, how are people looking at that right now? I mean, if you had him already rated as the best prospect, if you're an NHL team, the incident wouldn't have you dropping him down, correct?
Well, you're really happy that the felony charge has been dropped because obviously if you're talking about, playing in Canada and going cross border, a felony charge would limit your ability to travel. And so at that point, teams can't spend that high of a pick on a guy who can only play X number of games because of his inability to travel.
Wow.
So that's an important element to this. And it's funny because I do think scouts take a 360-degree view of this. And let me explain how. There are going to be some scouts out there that's saying, I've watched this guy all year. He's at the World Juniors. I was a little bit worried about his compete and so on and so forth. I didn't know he had this in him to go and basically beat up a guy. And so unfortunately for the young man who had his jaw broken, from a pure hockey perspective, and I don't want to delineate the violent act that happened,
Sure.
but from a pure hockey perspective, there's scouts out there saying, wow, if he has that in him, what's it going to be like in 4 or 5 years in the National Hockey League? He's shown me something that I haven't really seen from him on ice. There's going to be others that say, this is trouble. We're going to back away completely. Picking that high in the draft, we're not going to look at this player. And then there's going to be a third group and probably a more well-encompassing group of whatever the 15 teams that are going to be potentially picking number one that are going to go back and are going to have to do their due diligence in Medicine Hat. Trainers, coaches, billets, teachers, teammates. Is there any sort of pattern of behavior that maybe got brushed under the rug when he was in Medicine Hat that we need to know about? Because if it's a pattern of behavior, then we're concerned. And again, I'm not saying any of this happened. I'm just giving you a scouting perspective of what teams are doing and what they're saying. They're making sure that their guys go back into history now to sure that this is not an incident as part of a pattern.
Yeah, because I look at it a couple different ways. I mean, I just say, hey, listen, you're different than the other students at Penn State. You got to be careful. You can't put yourself in these types of situations. And I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. But sometimes you just wish that his people that are with him can take care of that for him. You know what I'm saying? So he's got way too much to lose in a situation like that. But again, I wasn't there, so I don't know how it played out. But you'd like to see these guys stay out of the news from that standpoint. I mean, it was after the outdoor game. He's the biggest name on campus right now.
Yeah.
You would think that there's people looking out for him. If there's some college kid who's chirping him and his mom, that whether it's a bouncer, whether it's teammates, friends, others are taking care of Connor McDavid or Gavin McKenna, so he doesn't have to put himself in that spot. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Agreed.
is that unusual? Like, has he shown that side of him on the ice? There's videos of him slashing guys and stuff like that, but
Yeah. Not to that extent.
okay.
Not to that extent.
Okay.
So, I again, and I don't want to, there is a victim here, and it's a
Yeah.
broken jaw, and it's a serious thing. And, I don't really want to take that away from the victim piece, like that's an important part of all of this too. But, again, you're asking me about what I'm expect to see from the scouting community, and that's about as honest an answer as I can give.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, what'd you think of that Albert Smits from Latvia? That big team man yesterday against Team
Yes,
USA.
sir. Yeah. Yeah. Now we're talking. Like, doesn't play on a great team, but playing big minutes in the Liga and the Finnish league, which is a good league in and of itself.
Mhm.
So he's had to learn on the fly here. But like physically, he's ready to rock. He looks like an NHL ready body right now. I'd say the one, I guess, slight concern I'd have is his ability to process the game. Puck touches are probably a little bit normal for him playing on a lesser team and getting the minutes he gets. Coming back from World Juniors, he's on every, playing 27, 28 minutes per game there. And now here you are seeing him at the Olympics. So we saw Slavkovsky 4 years ago in the Olympics do it. He was the MVP, 7 goals. Slovakia won its first ever medal. I mean, Latvia is not going to be in medal contention, but this guy's still going to be leaned on heavily against a lot of NHL players, and he is not intimidated one bit. I love that about him. So it's just a matter of really honing the hockey sense part of the game, and again, just processing his decisions a little bit quicker.
Yeah. I could see that because I love the physicality, how he closed in on Austin Matthews, put him down. But then on one of the goals for the Americans, I think it was Brock Nelson's first goal, he kind of chased and took a bad route behind the net and kind of left the middle of the ice exposed there in front. Those are little decisions, right, as a defenseman, where it was probably best for him to stay home. But again, he's 18 playing against Team USA, full of a bunch of NHL superstars. So super impressed. How big is he, by the way? What is he, 6'3"?
I think he's 6'3", like 215 or 220, something like that. Like he's a big human. And the thing is, like, obviously people are going to be excited about that when it comes to the National Hockey League scouts.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a fascinating guy for me inside of that top 10. I think there's some people that would have him as early as 5, and some people that would have him down in that 10 range. But let's be honest, with the way things are going for St. Louis, he's probably going to be in their conversation and a guy they're going to have to take a real strong look at.
Yeah, how could he not be? Anybody else that we're not talking about that could flirt with the first overall pick and push a McKenna or a Stenberg out?
Yeah, there's 2 other guys. So Caleb Malhotra is the son of Manny.
Yeah.
He's playing in Brantford, really good team, and his game has just grown. Each and every day, this guy's getting better. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch him play in situations that are going to be really meaningful here down the stretch. So, being on a good team, yeah, that helps in terms of your matchups and so on and so forth. Being a leader, well, that's pretty impressive for a guy who's younger. And he's performed well at big events. I think he's got his dad's defensive acumen already,
Mm-hmm.
but I think at the same age, when I watched his dad play in the Ontario Hockey League, this guy is probably a little bit more skilled than what his dad was. And as you would expect most younger players, because there's been such an emphasis on skill, and you're seeing it with your guy as well. I'm sure it's a big part of the program. So he's one guy, I'd say, on the lower end, but Keaton Verhoff's a 6'4", 215-pound right shot defenseman. He plays at North Dakota. He's a guy that I think is going to challenge here for that number 1 spot. And the thing that I'll point to, Strick, is like, okay, look at John Carlson, look at Drew Doughty, look at Aaron Ekblad, look at Cale Makar. These are all kind of bigger defensemen, let's say 6'1", between 6'1" and 6'4", right shot defensemen. They've never left their current teams that they were drafted from, because those guys are really hard to find. And I think Verhoff is going to be in that category 5 years down the road, as the team that drafts him is just going to be really excited to have him, and they'll probably want to keep him for life.
Yeah, that's interesting. It'll be fascinating. How much do you think these lists will change between now and June?
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics are going to play a part in it. Like, where Smits ends up being ranked coming out of this is going to be fascinating for me. You've got the Frozen Four and the tournaments there. So how much, like, there's a guy by the name of Oscar Hemming who just He was supposed to play Kitchener at the start of the year, Finnish kid. He's probably going to end up as a top 10 role. But here's a guy who couldn't get his release from his Finnish team, sat out the whole first half, ends up going to BC, and he's playing really well in BC as a power forward type guy. So he's going to, wreak havoc inside of that top 10, I believe, before it's out. So we're going to see some changes for sure. I would say, though, that the top 3 guys would be McKenna, Verhoff, and Stenberg. I have Stenberg at number 1. I don't know how much that's going to change for me throughout the rest of the year. It'll be fun watching Gavin McKenna, especially if he can get this Penn State into some high leverage games here.
Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting to watch.
McKenna, Stenberg, they can walk right into the NHL next season. No problem.
I mean, I think so. I mean, it's not often you see a number 1 who doesn't.
Right.
But I think so. Hey, listen, you never know, like Sweden, the contracts, you've seen it with Otto, even though he was picked a little lower. It'll be kind of interesting to watch. Verhoff, I don't think he'd quite be ready for that yet. But again, like, okay, is he going to go back and play college? Is that the best thing for him to do? Is he going to go right into the NHL? Is that the best thing for him to do? It's a little bit more of a delicate situation now with these guys. And so I do think there will be a couple of guys out of this draft class we'll see in the National Hockey League, but it might be a Brady Martin type thing in Nashville where he gets to 7 games. You know what? You're not quite ready. Sit a week in the box, get a look at what we're doing here, and then go back to junior. So it might be one of those things too.
All right, 2 more things for you. Chase Reed, you like him, huh?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, and I'll tell you why I like him a lot is because of his story. He goes to the USHL, just okay there, goes back the next year to Waterloo, he gets cut. So he's in the Null, and that, like, with all due respect to the Null, that's not a league where a ton of players are getting drafted out of. Well, Andrew Gibson's a Detroit prospect who plays in Sault Ste. Marie. He goes to World Juniors. Chase Reed ends up going to Sault Ste. Marie because Sault Ste. Marie is a better place than the Null. They end up trading away Andrew Gibson because Chase Reed is so good, like basically coming out of nowhere. He goes point per game basically the second half of the year, comes into this year, and he's lights out in every facet, Strick. Like he can defend, really good feet, passing the puck like a pro. Can run a power play. This guy has a lot of really good things to his game. He's looking right now like a top 7, a top 5 guy for me.
Wow. Okay. I love hearing that. And then how many draft eligible players are in the Olympics right now? Are there more than Smits that you're focusing on and paying attention to, or is he the main guy?
I think he's the only guy, like in terms of first year draft eligibility. I'm pretty sure he's the only guy.
Okay. And that would make sense. So, great stuff, Sam. I appreciate it very much. Enjoy the hockey tournament with your daughter and keep up all the great work. What's next on the agenda for you? Because I know you're doing NHL stuff too.
Yeah, so I'm on chill time here until the 25th when the Olympics are over. Probably get a ski trip in there. Did a warm weather trip already, and then we'll be back in fast action to finish it out. So I got a couple Jets games coming up there in April. A lot of studio work in March, so happy to do it all, man. I love it.
Okay, that's perfect, Sam. Keep up the great work, man, and thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Okay, Strick, anytime. Good talking to you.
Likewise. We'll talk soon. All right, so that was Sam Cosentino, and again, great stuff from him. Just a little appetizer, right, in terms of paying attention to the draft eligible players coming up, and who knows where the Blues are going to select. We could have another situation like the Four Nations last year after the Four Nations where they just never lose and all of a sudden make the playoffs. Wouldn't put my money on it, but all signs point towards the Blues getting a top pick, and we want to make sure that we've got a firm handle on whoever they bring into the organization. I do find it interesting that he says Stenberg is number 1 over McKenna. You don't hear too many people saying that. And I love the fact that he has his own opinion in terms of who he'd take first overall. So we'll continue to monitor that. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Card controls, you got to shop a peace of mind. Card controls receive real-time notifications anytime your First Community credit card or debit card is used. So you can even turn off your card right from your mobile device if it's lost or stolen. So you can learn more at firstcommunity.com. We love having First Community with us. Blue Note Roofing, call David Novak, 314-920-5713. Our friends over at Lordo's Diamonds. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Frontenac Detailing, right there at the Honda Frontenac location. They're the best detailers in town. It's a separate business within the Honda Frontenac location. So Frontenac Detailing has their own space there at the dealership. But I've taken my car there, and it makes it look like it's brand new. They put that wax coating on there. It's incredible. So look them up. Reach out to me. You can message me if you want information on how to get a hold of them. Kirkwood Fence, everybody. But we thank everybody for joining us. Jamal Mayers, and then Sam Cosentino, obviously, and of course Aiden back behind the scenes helping us get on and off here live from the Half Coast Studios. We'll continue on throughout the course of the Olympic break. Every Friday, this is where you can find Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Enjoy the Olympics. Enjoy the weekend. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll talk again soon.